What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Properties and Pour Overs podcast. My name is Adam Colburn, and today I have a very special guest, my buddy Michael Oakes. What's going on, Mike?
What's going on, everybody? Adam, pleasure as always to see you, my friend. Excited to be here, and I can't wait.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for taking the time. So, just to get started, can you tell me where you're located in the country and what your business looks like currently?
Yeah. So for anybody who tuned in last week, this can be a little continuation, I guess. But I currently in living in Charleston, South Carolina, originally from Pittsburgh, and we originally were wholesalers, but we've pivoted to being capital raisers over the past like 6 months, and it's going really well, and we're loving it. It's got its own little trials and tribulations, but hey, it doesn't everything.
Right, for sure. Yeah. Well, and so like obviously we had Paul on, your partner. But you have your own unique story on how you got into the space, right? So what did life look like before real estate for you?
Yeah, so I went to college, did the whole well, it's actually 4.5 years of college,
Okay.
and I got out. I was originally a recruiter, then I bounced around. Did a little bit of enterprise rent a car, which that they do a great job. They have a great program, but just the customers and people you have to deal with on a daily
Oh my
basis is
gosh. I
kind
could
of
only
nuts.
Yeah, dude, that would be
Yeah.
gnarly.
Yeah, it was like people blame you for them getting into an accident and stuff, and it's like, all right, man, whatever you, whatever.
Whoa.
But yeah, did that, and then I got into the agent world right after COVID, like kind of during COVID,
Okay.
and that's where I got my feet wet in the whole real estate game. I didn't really like being an agent personally. It's not
Hmm.
for me, but I'm not saying it's not the route to go.
Sure.
But for me, it just wasn't what I was looking for. Then Paul, as you guys heard last week, called me up, my best friend that we kind of grew apart a little bit because he went his own path, I went my way, and we came back together, started this at the end of November 2022, and we've been rocking since.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah.
Cool, man. And so, like, was there any specific reason, like, obviously anything is better than working at Enterprise Rent a Car after a while, right? But like, what was the spark that led to real estate and then I guess just agency in particular? Was that just in your mind kind of like a low barrier of entry to get into the space? Tell me about that.
Yeah, yeah. So I was a YouTube rat during COVID, and I loved watching like house tours and different stuff like that. And I'm like, I can do that. Like, what? I can go show a house and talk to people. That's what I do as a caddy every day.
Right.
Which that's been my job for like eternity since I was 14. It's
Okay.
just carrying golf bags. But yeah, I found like just seeing house tours on YouTube, and I just was like, hey, I can do this, pass a test. I've passed so many tests in my life. Why not try another one?
Hmm.
So I really just went that route, and I went with Berkshire Hathaway. They have a great program. It just didn't work out for me, but yeah, it's a cool life, and I wanted to be a part of it in one way or another, and then found my way into being an investor, like what we're doing now, and I'm
Yeah,
loving it, man.
that's cool, man. And so when you became an agent, like yeah, all the fancy cars and the cool stuff, Berkshire Hathaway is a really great brokerage, right? Like high prestige. Was your intention to always move into investments, or did that happen later? Just like you saw somebody like flipping a house or something, like, yo, that looks way more fun. Or like, how did
Yeah,
that go?
honestly, yeah, it was really like the wholesaling side is what
Okay.
stuck out to me is like not having to pay all the fees and the brokerage costs to be a part of something and being able to start our own thing was really what something Paul and I talked about for years in the kitchen, like at sleepovers and stuff in high
Sure.
school, just like manifesting it back then that we're gonna have our own company that we're running together
Yeah.
and 10 years, 10 plus years later, it all comes to fruition. So that's really what started it. And I had no idea you could do all these really cool things. I thought you could only be an agent. That's really the only way I thought you could do it and then become a
Sure.
broker and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool, man. Yeah, I mean, I thought similarly because like I wasn't licensed ever, but I was a full-time photographer, right? So I shot a lot of
Mhm.
listings, dealt with a lot of agents. And yeah, I was always like, I don't know how to get into this path. And then just shooting a lot of flips for a guy. And I could tell like he was definitely not an agent. But he just worked with one that would list everything for him. I was like, how do I get in that seat? And like that just
Yeah.
looks fun. And but it was just limited mindset things like I don't have the cash to buy my own house. How am I going to go buy this rental property? All this kind of stuff, or a flip rather. And it just took a little bit to kind of break down those walls in my own mind to see what was possible.
Right.
So it sounds like it was similar for you, but more on the
Hmm.
agency side. Like you have to go through these steps before you can get to that kind of life, and you just kind of broke through the ceiling with wholesaling.
Yep.
That's
Skipped a
cool.
couple steps. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think that's awesome. And I mean, I tell everybody that that's looking to get into the space. I think wholesaling is like a requirement in my mind. Like even if you don't want to be a wholesaler, like knowing how to go and be direct to discounted properties or
Hmm.
businesses or whatever, like knowing how to go and find a deal is a skill set that will transcend all asset classes your entire career, right? And if everything
Exactly.
fell, like if my whole business just crumbled beneath me, I could just move to a new town and start over and know exactly how to build back up to where I am and maybe even further, right? And so
Exactly.
I think that's such a great spot to start. But then obviously Paul kind of mentioned it with the owners club meeting with Manats Kanian about getting into capital
Hmm.
raising. Like from your perspective, like when he comes and just busts in the room, he's like, "Hey, now we're raising money." Like, how did that conversation go, and how did you feel about like kind of just completely pivoting your business and focusing on one specific thing now?
Yeah, so it kind of caught me off guard. Like I was doing my own research on capital raising. I knew it was something we had to learn and get into down the line. I
Yeah.
just wasn't sure if we were ready to do it. But Paul, being the salesman and the OG guy he is, really convinced me, saying like, "Hey man, like we had some success, but it's kind of fizzled out. Like
Hmm.
this is kind of what we do, you know, like we can go talk to people, we can network." And during the Boston immersion is really when it kind of clicked in my head what we could
Hmm.
do it, because what Paul and I did was just, okay, I'm talking to this person, what do you need, what do you have, that whole deal. And we
Right.
would just go walk people to who they needed and
Yeah.
to get to. So it was kind of that epiphany really was like, okay, we can do this in person, why can't
Hmm.
we take this home and apply it to deals for people who are actually making things happen and can have the track record and have all the facts backing them and all that stuff, that it kind of was a no-brainer. And obviously we want to have all divisions in our company down the line, but if we can get really good at capital raising and show that we can do this on an elite scale, you can do anything. You know, if you can raise
Yeah.
capital for real estate, you can raise capital for just about anything. So
Sure.
that's really what did it, and we're loving it. You know, I'm pretty sure. I'm not going to get my hopes up, but I think that we have some motion on one tonight that Paul was texting about right before I hopped on here. That
Nice,
fingers
dude.
crossed it keeps going
Yeah.
through,
Let's go.
but yeah, we'll see.
I love it, dude. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's such a vital part of any business, right? Like cash flow or just capital in general is
Mhm.
the lifeblood of any business. And so learning how to go and raise that effectively for other people's projects and then being able to insert yourself into those, like it's huge. Like I think
Mhm.
like right under what we were talking about, like wholesaling is like the first step just so you know how to find the deal, but then you got to know how to fund the deal, right? It's like the
Mhm.
next thing in line. And if you're doing it at scale and in larger dollar amounts, right? Then obviously like the return is higher for everybody involved. And so
Right.
you can get paid handsomely for just knowing how to connect the dots and bring the money to the table. So that's really cool. As far as like your dynamic with Paul, like
Mhm.
with you guys working together, what does that look like on like a day-to-day scenario? Because I mean, obviously there's not a ton of difference between like raising capital. It's not like an acquisition and a disposition side. Maybe kind of a little bit, but like are you more like investor relations, like following up with current lenders and Paul's going out there shaking hands and kissing babies, that kind of stuff? Like, or what does that look like? Or do you guys kind of just mesh and just double the productivity while you both go out and just beat the street?
A little bit of both. I would say I'm more on the bringing in side.
Okay.
I go find the new leads and new ways for us to partner with people.
Yeah.
Paul's really great at using social media to go find lenders to fund the deals.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also we lost our editor like about a month and a half ago. So I've been
Mm.
doing a lot of the editing and like the clips and stuff right
Yeah.
now, which I don't want to be doing, but you know, it's the business. You got to
Yeah.
do what you
Gotta
got
do
to
it.
do.
Right.
So yeah, and originally I was, I guess, like the angel investor. Like you and I kind of were in a similar position when we started with our partners. Like Paul had the time, I had the money and kind of the initial knowledge, like the real estate knowledge, and
Sure.
Paul just took it, ran with it, and we've grown it into something that we're trying to be able to, have our kids have down the
Right.
line with family offices and the whole nine,
Yeah,
So yeah,
totally.
I'd say that we do a little bit of both. We both have the visionary and integration mindsets that we use well, but it depends on the day, I guess.
Okay.
Some days he does more integration,
Sure.
some days I do. So
Fair enough.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, like, what's overall like your individual like big vision, your
Mhm.
Everest, right? If we want to stay in the owners club mindset, um, like, what do you want to accomplish in the next 3 to 5 years? Is it just raising capital space, or are you guys pushing in a specific direction, with like buy and holds or a certain dollar amount raised? Like, what does that look like for you?
So this year we're really trying to raise over $1 million. Personally, my big Mount Everest this year is the first peak, I guess you could say, is try to
Hmm.
scale 100 businesses
Okay.
this year to be able to, if we help people scale, we're going to scale.
Sure.
And so that's the main one. And really, to be able to create a portfolio that Paul and I don't have to worry about money or anything like that, and the business can start running itself, and then we can really get to that owner's, level of
Yeah.
having people handle the integrations, the day-to-day type stuff, and we can focus on the big picture and the goal and, vision
Yeah.
stuff.
Love
Yeah.
it. That's cool. And so as far as like the scaling businesses side, is that just real estate specific? Like I know you guys are working with Leuver to help raise money for the projects that he's currently working
Mhm.
on. Or are you guys thinking about like bringing seed capital into other like brick and mortar businesses?
As of right now, it's just real estate, but it's only February, so
Sure.
I'm
Yeah,
game
that's
for
early.
whatever road the Lord takes us down. I'm just gonna walk with Him and kind of just follow His lead. But
Yeah,
He's He's brought us to some pretty cool places and some pretty cool people. So I'm just I know you're a guy of faith, and so am I. So just got to give it to the Lord and let Him lead us. That's
for
that's really
sure.
all it comes down to for
Yeah,
me.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Nah, I like that. I like that. Okay. And so, I mean, you guys are fairly new to raising capital, but you've been in real estate for long enough to have some bumps and bruises. Like,
Oh yeah.
can you talk through like a situation that you guys went through, maybe early on or recently, like a challenge in your business and how you kind of overcame that?
Yeah, so we had a deal that we took down about a year ago, maybe a little less, that came through one of the team members we originally had, Bakari, and he got it from his boss. It was his house, who eventually became a team member of ours, Greg.
Okay.
That we sold the house on a wrap. I put my own money into it, and now, knowing what we know now, we should have done a lease option. But now we got a payoff letter that she's selling it. So it's like we didn't really see like the money coming into our pockets. It was really the overhead of the company. So that's now about to shut off.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's the main reason why we got into capital raising was we wanted ways to create equity and really create different ways that aren't going to be like wholesaling where it's great for a month or two and then it slows down and it's great for
Sure.
another 3 months. So
Yeah.
we're trying to look at more longevity plans, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that makes sense because yeah, I mean you can make a ton of money wholesaling, but the minute you stop marketing, your business dies.
Right.
And so, and it takes a long time to get the wheels to start turning again. It's not just jump back on the bike and you're riding. Like you got to
Right.
rebuild the bike and then go.
Literally from
So,
scratch, go
yeah,
find the parts and everything.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's much more streamlined or consistent on the capital side because once that money's placed, obviously the project's moving through the stages, but you know that that money is coming to you at the end of the project, and then you can just kind of shift focus and go find the next deal. Which I think is similar, like that skill set is necessary in wholesaling too, because if you get that one itis, right, like all you focus on is that one deal in escrow, and then you're completely disregarding your pipeline, not following up with leads, losing out on deals, and then what happens if that deal falls apart? Right now you have nothing, and you have to work for another several months to get everything going. It's like as soon as escrow opens, I've forgotten about that deal, and now I need to go chase something else. And I think capital raising is the same, right? Like, all right, we just funded that one,
Yes.
moving on, go to the next deal, and then we just get these little Christmas presents along the way throughout the year
Yeah.
when equity gets paid out.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah. And that's the beauty of having TCs, right? Is like you can go do all the front end work and then you trust it over to the TC and then you can keep hunting
Right.
and keep bringing down deals. So yeah, exactly right. It's very similar, just kind of at it depends on what scale you're doing. If you're doing for like multifamily or single
Sure.
family, it can be very similar. So yeah, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, and I mean, mentioning TCs, I think that's a huge part of anyone's business. It's such a nominal cost for the amount of like headspace that you get back for not having to deal with paperwork and following up with sellers and them never responding to their emails and all that kind of stuff. Like it can be pretty draining. So if I can just hand that
So
off to
true.
somebody else and just be back on the phone trying to solve the problems on the front end, which I'm like uniquely good at, then that just it's better for everybody, right? We're all making more
Yeah.
money because we're all staying in our lane, right? The whole who, not
Exactly.
how situation. And
Every
so,
time.
yeah, man, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and shout out to our TC Bernadette. She's our operator intern TC. She's caused us to not go into some deals because she's looking out for us. And that's if you don't have a TC that is not watching your back, go find a new one. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but you need to find a different TC because
Sure.
they are the ones who
Yeah.
protect you. They're almost like a lawyer, but they're not.
Right.
That they're not going to let you go into something that is going to end up badly for you or the buyer or whoever or
Yeah.
whatever. If you're wholesaling, capital raising, hold on. Yeah,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely don't pinch pennies. It's like $1,000 for all this peace of mind and all this skill set that they have and knowledge base. Cause like, sure, I can read the paperwork. I know what it says. I can fill it out. Do I like doing it? Absolutely not. But like and then the back end implications if I fill it out incorrectly, right? Like these are legal documents. They get recorded against
right.
properties. Like you can cause problems. I would rather just put that on somebody else that is uniquely good at that, and then I just focus on moving forward and getting more deals.
Exactly.
So yeah, and I mean, we had just have we're blessed with a community like Subto and top tier with having so many resources in every space, right? Like can easily make a post anywhere and find 50 TCs to run your job
Oh
and
yeah.
get references and stuff. So yeah, I think that's huge. If the person you're working with right now is not really you like looking out for your best interest, then yeah, you probably should try somebody else out and be better
And
for you overall.
we don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but it's just it's how the world works. It's
Right.
you gotta protect your own interests because somebody's gonna come out from a dark corner and try to
Yeah.
take what you got. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That's good, man. Well, cool, man. I love what you guys are doing. I think it's awesome to see like you pivot, but now you're running in that one direction. You're not really thinking like, oh, maybe let's just keep one toe over here and one toe over here. Like you're just full bore into it. You're already funding deals. I'm seeing you guys be really active on social media. It's really cool. But if you were to kind of talk to your younger self, right? Before you're getting in this space or somebody that's wanting to get into real estate, whether it be wholesaling or capital raising, just any of it, right? It's all very similar kind of niche. Like, what is a piece of advice that you would give to somebody just starting out?
just starting out. Okay. So if I was talking to 2022 Mike, I would say start wholesaling. Exactly what you said. You got to grind your teeth, get some cuts and bruises in there and really understand how the investor world works first. And then if you start seeing some success, stay there. But as soon as it starts fizzling out, I'm not saying pivot immediately, but look into other options. Like if originally we were just doing cash wholesaling, then we found about creative and then we found out about you can use OPM, which we had no idea that you could use other people's money.
Oh yeah,
So there, just really do your research. YouTube U is your best friend, and there's 400 different owners in Owners Club making content about different stuff. Look at all of the stuff that they're doing, and then make a decision. Don't just go full bore into one thing originally. Like, definitely start with wholesaling but then figure out which direction you want to go after that. And if
sure.
it is wholesaling, stay there. But
Right.
for us, we found out it was just a little bit of a different direction.
Yeah, totally. No, I think that's good advice. And I think it's maybe focusing on on one thing for a specific amount of time before pivoting because That's the blessing and curse of real estate is that they all of these strategies do work. They just all don't work at the same time. And so the shiny object syndrome is so real. And
Yeah,
so if you just pick one lane and run in it for I think 90 days minimum.
yeah,
Just try it
exactly.
out. Even if you just get your teeth kicked in every single day and you're like, man, I absolutely hate this. Well, then you know that this is probably not for you, right?
Hmm.
Hopefully you make some money on the way, but if not, then you at least you know what you don't like, right? And then you can pivot to the next thing. So I think that's really good. If you're trying to do five things at once, if you want to fix and flip and wholesale and buy creative deals and try to raise money and be a TC, like you're gonna fizzle
Almost
out
passed out.
quick. You're right. Yeah, I need
Yeah.
I need some more coffee. Like just getting that sentence out, right? It's gonna be exhausting, and you're gonna be frustrated because you're not gonna get any momentum in any of those sectors. Where if you just put your head down and grind in that one specific discipline, for even just a quarter, right? 90 days and you give it a try, I think you're going to have way more success. And then obviously, like you said, just leveraging people that are doing what you're doing, right? Like you mentioned
Mhm.
the owners club, there's plenty of us. Obviously, we're both in the Subto community as well, which is a whole lot more high level investors doing all kinds of crazy things. And so jumping into a mentorship or a community like that and having people that you can JV with or just teach you along the way, I think is huge. That's so good.
Exactly. Yeah, and you touched on one thing real quick. If you are struggling and it is what you want to do, if you want to wholesale, if you want to do creative finance, get in these communities because it is a different atmosphere than anything you will ever expect. We went from struggling to just find leads to being able to dispo really well to now we've done in the first month of 2025, we've helped close $2 million in real estate. Like
So good, dude.
all through just raising capital.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're helping other people's achieve their dream while we're doing ours. So if you help somebody get to their dream, you're gonna win and get closer to yours at the same time. It can't not happen,
It's so good.
unless you're not doing the right paperwork. But that'd be the
Yeah.
only way.
Yeah. Always back to the paperwork. But yeah, I
It
mean,
does.
that's one of my favorite quotes. I think it's Zig Ziglar, right? Like
Hmm.
the way to get what you want is to just help enough people get what they want, right? Just
Exactly.
lead with value. And that's, I mean, that's what Pace and all these communities are really pushing, right? It's just all value first always. And so that's so good, man. Love what you're doing. Proud of you guys. You're crushing it. If somebody wanted to reach out to you and maybe pick your brain a little bit on some techniques and tips on raising capital, or just to say, hey, I've got some money I want to throw in one of your deals, like where can they reach out to you?
Yeah, so my all my handles everywhere, TikTok, Instagram, even Facebook somehow, is Mike's REI Roots and our company's Veterans Choice Investments. So if you want, reach out to us on any of those. And I'd love to talk to anybody who either wants to learn about capital raising, wants to get started in real estate, or if you got some money laying around and you don't want the IRS to touch, come holler at your boy. I can help you get some ways to not have to pay taxes on that. So yeah,
Absolutely, man.
it's an amazing world we're in, and I want to say thank you to you, Adam, for being the amazing person you are. Shout out to you. You're providing so much to this community and outside the community. I meet people that are like, Adam. I'm like, you know Adam? Yeah, yeah. So it's
Thanks,
great, and
dude. I
you're
appreciate
you're
it.
helping people left, right, and center. So appreciate you, man. Love you.
Awesome, bro. Love you back. Well, that's great, bro. So glad that we could spend some time together, learn a bit about your business. Thanks so much again for giving me some of your Monday evening. Guys, thanks so much for watching, making it to the end. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until the next episode, I will catch you later. Peace.